My name's Timothy Crawshaw. I'm your chair and MC today. I'm the chair of the Tees Valley Nature Partnership and have been for the last 7 years. And what a 7 years that has been, with a large blip in the middle which we're all aware of. This is our first live one for a while, bar the fantastic presence of Natural England last year coming to the Tees Valley to go, isn't the Tees Valley awesome? Which it is, and we know it is. And for all of us who represent nature, I think that was a very proud moment. So here we are again, in person at Darlington, to enjoy what's going to be a fantastic day of learning and sharing and celebration of everything that nature does for us. We're hosted by Tees Valley Nature Partnership, Your Tees Catchment Partnership, and our friends at Discover Brightwater. And again, that is partnership played out. I think it's really important that we do remember that nature is regenerative. You know, nature is that power, that force. Every day we experience nature. And in many ways, without being glib about it, nature does keep bouncing back. Nature supports our economy. It's got a direct relationship. Everything we do is supported by nature. Nature keeps us well. Many of us talk now about the natural health service, you know. If you're feeling a bit low or you're feeling, you know, everything's on top of you, go outside. Go and listen to nature. Nature will heal you. And I think at the end of the day, we've always got to remember that we are nature. There is no division between us and nature. We are nature ourselves. We've got some fantastic new tools. We're at a fantastic pivotal moment for nature in terms of policy and practice. We've got local nature recovery strategies coming. We've got a real consciousness now about biodiversity net gain, and that will be held in law through planning. We've got ELMs, you know, payments for farmers that do things differently. So in many ways, we're at a point now, and that's why the question is, what next for nature? Because actually, this is the time now where we need to be gathering all our threads together. All the people who've been campaigning in the dark for years, all those people who've been jumping around going, hey, pick nature, pick nature. And then finally, here we are, we can do this. So, we've got a fantastic morning of setting the scene in the auditorium. We've got some talks, we've got panel discussion and everything else. At lunchtime, please do go and explore the 25 stalls we have. You know, this is a fantastic chance for shared learning, knowledge transfer, and making sure that we're all really ready for the next steps. We've got workshops across the venue. We've got some fantastic access all area workshop venues within this fantastic venue itself. And then we're all going to gather back here. There is a slider with a QR code, which will be around. You can send in your questions and interact via our polls. We think that's a really important thing to do. This is actually not just about just doing talk and chalk. This is about you guys also contributing your ideas and everything else. And we've got a very special guest later, our local MP, Peter, who's going to be speaking to us too. So, without any, hesitation in saying so, I'd like to give some statistics about the Tees Valley itself. Get this, Tees Valley Nature gives an estimated annual benefit to physical and mental health of somewhere around 476 to 494 million pounds a year. That is the contribution that nature's making, just because it's there and keeping us well. But we have 3% less than the national tree cover in the Tees Valley, so there's still stuff to do. 54% of the Tees Valley, this always surprises people, is farmland. So there's a massive potential for that farmland to do things differently, and not just for nature and nature's sake and everything else in terms of nature recovery and regenerative farming, but the image of place and everything else. Not everybody, first thing they think about with the Tees Valley is the fact that 54% of it is green stuff. And how can that green stuff contribute towards the image and the visitor economy and everything else? We have some fantastic protections for nature, Teesmouth, Cleveland Coast SPA, and everything else. So in many ways, the Tees Valley itself has got some fantastic habitats here already, which need our protection, but also need to be celebrated and revealed, because that's actually part of our unfolding story as a sub-region. And actually, I'd like to say, has been a thought leader in terms of nature recovery. I'm very proud to say that the Tees Valley Nature Partnership has 40 partner member organisations. And I'm doing a bit of work this afternoon to start to talk about how we can expand that as well, and how people who don't necessarily work in our sector, but now are getting very, very interested, can come and join us and be part of this unfolding story about how nature can be part of people's everyday lives and lived experience in the Tees Valley. With those 40 member organisations, that's around 6,000 people who are working every day in the Tees Valley to promote the power of nature to make the world a better place. So, on the other side, the Tees Valley is one of the most carbon-intensive regions in the country. So, you know, there are plans afoot for carbon capture and storage and everything else, but nature should not be left out of the equation in terms of all the multifunctional benefits that our natural environment can bring for health and well-being, for the economy, for the image of place, for everything else in our cultural lives. So, in many ways, the power of nature in the Tees Valley is always in contrast. And I find that really exciting sometimes, that you can see heavy industry, you can see stuff going on. You know, we're part of the economy of the UK. And right next to that, we've got some fantastic habitats, some wonderful assets like Salt Home Nature Reserve and everything else. And almost that contrast makes it more exciting in some ways. So we've got a lot to work with here and a lot to do. Right, so it's time now for the day to commence. So I wish you all a fantastic conference. Please spend this time together to share your ideas and share what I think is the group enthusiasm for nature in the Tees Valley. So I'm going to introduce our keynote speakers. Unfortunately, Dr. Margaret Branshaw, MBE, couldn't be with us today, but her books are available in the foyer. But to lead our keynote discussion is Peter Barron MBE. He's an award-winning journalist who has the longest-serving editor of the Northern Echo. He's widely regarded as one of the UK's foremost regional journalists. And he's going to be joined by Tristan Anderson, aged 10, also known as EnviroKid. Tristan is currently using the Wildlife Trust's hashtag 30 Days Wild, which ends today, initiative as a platform to raise money for Durham Wildlife Trust. In 2022, Tristan was awarded a notable prize by Action for Nature in the Young International Eco Hero competition and received the Environment Award at the Northern Echo County Durham Together Awards. His motto is, little people can make a big change. I invite to the stage Tristan and Peter.
Good morning, everybody. I've been very lucky in my career to interview lots of famous people, including 2 prime ministers. But I have to say that this young man is the most important person I think I've ever interviewed and the most inspirational I've ever interviewed. This is Tristan Anderson, and he's here to talk to you about his passion for nature. So, Tristan, before we get into that, let's find out a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit about your life, where you live, and what you love to do.
Well, I love to help nature, and my life is technically, I have 2 pets, a cat and a dog. I live in Sedgefield, and the school I go to is Wynyard Church of England Primary School. Okay.
And what are your pets called? What's the cat and dog called?
Well, my cat's called Smudge.
Yeah.
And my dog's called Ziggy.
Ziggy. Okay. And do you have a favourite animal other than your cat and your dog? Do you have a favourite animal?
Yeah. My favourite animal's a hedgehog.
A hedgehog. And why is that?
If I had to choose. Because I just find them really adorable.
Do you? Okay. All right then. So this morning, how does it feel about sitting in front of all these people as the keynote speaker at an environment conference? How does that, apart from anything else, I guess you get a day off school, do you?
Yeah, I have a day off school.
Yeah, and is that good?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But how does it feel about talking to these people about your passion for nature?
Well, it's very nerve-wracking.
Is it?
But it's also kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Because I get to talk about how much I love nature.
Great. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about how you got involved in nature in the first place. What was it that first... I mean, you're only 10, aren't you? But what was it that inspired you? Was it a person, or was it something that you saw? What made you want to do something in the sphere of nature?
Well, what started it was I watched a news report of Greta Thunberg, and she was talking about how she should have been in school, but instead she's talking about the problems that are happening in the environment. And I was like, well, someone has to do something about this, and I decided that person could be me. And another inspiration is David Attenborough, because he does so many different things, and it's really interesting to see his documentaries.
Yeah, so David Attenborough, I know, is a bit of a hero of yours, isn't he? So how have you gone about trying to make a difference? I mean, we heard that your motto is that little people can make a big difference. So how do you make a difference? What do you try to do?
Well, what I try to do is I do litter picking as often as I can. I do 30 Days Wild for Durham Wildlife Trust and the Wildlife Trusts. And I just do my best to get rid of all the litter in my local area or around the country.
But you had a YouTube channel, didn't you? And you've had an online magazine. Tell us about how you've used different types of media to get your message across.
Well, my YouTube channel is about how you can rewild your garden in as many ways as possible. And my magazines, well, my 2 magazines, are also about rewilding your garden, but I try to make people notice what all the problems can do to the world.
Okay, and you had a fantastic response, haven't you? I mean, you've won awards, and people watch your YouTube films and download your magazine. So it must be heartening for you, is it, when you realise that people are hearing what you've got to say? Does that make you feel good?
It makes me feel like I can do more.
Yeah.
Like I can do, like anything's possible. When I'm doing this, I feel like anything's possible.
Okay. I know that for your birthday, for when you turned 9, you didn't want presents, did you? So what did you ask for instead of presents? What did you ask for?
Instead of presents or a birthday party, I asked if I could do a sponsored silence for 10 hours to raise money so I can plant trees.
Yeah, and how much did you raise?
Around £517.
I think that's worth a round of applause, don't you? Yeah. That's great. So, you mentioned that you've been doing 30 Days Wild for Durham Wildlife Trust. And that ends today, doesn't it? So it's the 30th day. So tell us about some of the things that you've been doing during 30 Days Wild.
So some of the things that I've been doing for 30 Days Wild have been camping in my garden by myself, which I haven't done before until that day.
Was that very scary then?
It was scary, but also very exciting.
Was it? Yeah. Did anything happen during the night? Did you see any wildlife, or did you get any visitors or anything like that?
Yeah, I thought maybe a hedgehog came over to my tent because I heard some sniffing and some rustling around my tent.
Right.
And I was like, "Is that a hedgehog?" And then I had a flashlight, and then it was like a round ball.
Ah, right. So it probably was a hedgehog.
I thought it might have been a hedgehog.
Okay. So that was the highlight. Was it camping out in the garden? Was that the best thing you did? Tell us about. Is it true that you actually? Somebody told me that you actually got stung by a nettle on purpose. Is this true?
Yes, I got stung by a
What's that
nettle on
all
purpose.
about? Why did you do that?
The next £10 that were donated to the fund that I was doing for 30 Days Wild, I would get stung by a nettle, and someone donated £5, then another person donated £5, so then I got stung by a nettle on purpose.
So you got stung by a nettle to try and raise a bit more money?
Yes.
That's right?
Yes.
Okay. And was it as horrible as it sounds, or was it? Did you? I think don't you rub a dock leaf into nettle stings? Isn't that right? Did you do that, or how did you feel about it?
Well, I didn't do that because there was no dock leaves around.
Oh right, okay, fair enough. That's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And today's the last day, isn't it?
Yes.
So have you still got one last thing to do?
Yes, I think yeah.
And do you know what that's going to be?
I just decide when I'm about to do it, really.
Yeah. I don't know. I think being a keynote speaker at a nature conference, do you not think that might be... I'll just ask the ladies and gentlemen in the audience, could you please sort of give a shout out if you think being a keynote speaker at a very important nature conference counts as the 30th thing to do in 30 Days Wild? Yes! So I think you've completed it, Tristan, which is fantastic, isn't it? And how much money have you raised, do you know yet?
Around £311.
£311, that's brilliant. Okay. So what comes next? Because you're always up to something, aren't you? You've crammed so much into your life. I mean, you're only 10. So what are you planning to do? What's your next big initiative?
Well, I'm thinking about doing a sponsored draw, not just for 10 hours like the sponsored silence, but doing it for a full day to raise money so I can plant trees again.
Okay, and what will you be drawing? Will you be drawing wildlife, animals? Or?
I'll be drawing wildlife.
Yeah. Do you know how to draw a hedgehog? Can you draw a hedgehog?
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, well, we'll look forward to seeing your drawings. And if you need any publicity for that, when you get round to doing that, then just give me a shout, okay, and I'll get you in the paper. People often talk about something called eco-anxiety, which is people worrying about the future of the planet. And I think particularly for young people, it can be a cause of anxiety. But when you do things in nature, in the environment, to make things better, it kind of helps to make you feel better as well. I just wondered if that's been your experience.
Yes, that's my experience. Every time I do something, I feel like I can do more.
Yeah.
I do have eco-anxiety because of all the bad things that are happening to the environment. So why can't people help?
Yeah, yeah. And it just makes you feel better to know that you're making a contribution.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it makes me feel really good.
Okay. So, as I said, you're only 10 years old. What's the future hold for you, Tristan? What do you want to do when you're older? What would you like to do for a living?
Well, I would like to be an environmentalist, but I would also quite like to be a basketball player.
Okay, okay. So do you think there's any way that you might be able to be an environmental basketball player? Would the two things come together in any way, do you think?
Well, I could maybe every shot I make, I could plant a tree.
Yeah, that sounds really good, yeah. So you could be the world's first environmentalist basketball player, I think, which I think is a brilliant thing to aim for. So good luck with that. And I want to talk a little bit about the awards that you've won as well. You won the environmental award, didn't you, at the County Durham Together Awards last year. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel proud when you become an award winner?
Yes, it makes me feel very proud because all the things that I do lead up to incredible things. So when I won that, I was like, I could do more. Yeah. I need to do more.
Okay. Do you think we can all do more? I mean, because there's people here today, and they're here to talk about the future of nature across the Tees Valley, and how we can shape the future so it's a better future. So, what's your message to the people who are here for this conference today?
My message is play your part, pick up litter if you see some on the ground, and rewild your gardens, let your grass grow until you get sick of it growing, and maybe plant some more flowers or build a bat box, maybe make a pond in your garden, at least if you have a garden. And if you get any chance to build a log pile for insects to thrive, then I would do it.
Okay. Well, as I said at the beginning, I think, you're a very important person because you're doing a fantastic job. You're using your voice to get the message out there about how important the environment is and how important nature is. And I think that we're going to hear an awful lot more about you. I've got one request, if that's okay, just one thing I wanted to ask you, because I think that you're probably going to be Prime Minister one day. And I just wondered, when you become Prime Minister, whether or not you would give me the first exclusive interview for the Northern Echo. Would that be okay?
I don't think I could ever become Prime Minister, to be honest.
I don't know. I think there's every chance, but I just need to promise that you're going to give me that first exclusive interview, whether you do or not. Is that okay?
If I do, I will. You
will. That's a promise, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here. Ladies and gentlemen, I think he is, I'm sure you will agree, a very lovely and special young man. He's been our keynote speaker this morning, and he's got the conference off to a really engaging start. Could you put your hands together for the brilliant Tristan Anderson? Yeah. Do you want to stand up and take a bow? Okay. Thank you very much.